Hello, ladies. Welcome back. We missed you guys last week, but we're back. We have plenty to talk about. But first, we're going to cheers. I'm going to cheers to Meredith because her Astros won the World Series. She made it all around.
I can wear my jersey now. I was telling Aaron before the podcast that the last two times I wore this jersey, they lost. So I never wore it during the World Series because
So we didn't
I
see
just
it.
couldn't do that. So, but I could break it out now because we won.
We had to keep that superstition, but that was a great game on Saturday, a whole great series. And you got to kick off the series with exciting
I
stuff.
got to kick off the series live in Houston. It was Nola versus Verlander, and I just had to go. My mom and I went. It's supposed to be my sister and I.
That.
She couldn't go, so my mom and I went. I had I hit my goal a couple of months ago, and I had a free half day. So I told my boss, I was like, I got to go to the World Series, and she was like, okay, great. So we went, and I had a free place to stay thanks to my wonderful aunt who also lives in Houston. So she was like, come on over. I literally had the tickets ready to be bought, and I was like, because last year she offered a place for us to stay, and I was like, does last year's offer still stand? And she's like, absolutely. Or I was like, bye. So, and we were level 427. It was very high because I was
you were there,
but I was there, and it was literally my mom picked me up from work. We didn't if you live in Baton Rouge, the bridge traffic can be awful. We had no traffic, nothing. Everything was great. We had easy parking. Everyone at Minute Maid Park was so happy and just nice. We got our World Series merch, and I got my hot dog, I got my ranch water, and I sat down.
The best part of a baseball game.
I have to get a hot dog. Everyone laughs at me. My friends think I should start an Instagram of meets with Meredith, and because I just go to the ballpark and I get a hot dog everywhere I go. But it was an incredible experience. Really nothing. The only downside was that Astros lost that first game. We had Verlander, who is our most likely Cy Young winner, and he let a 5. We were up 5-0, and he let it go in the 6th inning. And I know it was very heartbreaking. It was very hard because I'm a big Aaron Nola fan who is for the Phillies, and he got 5 scores on him. So I was like,
so it was up and up. You got to see that, and it was only the first game, so you knew it was we could.
That's why I went to game 1, because I was literally this is the best game to go to. I really kind of genuinely hope both sides have fun. But honestly, once Aaron leaves the game, I don't really care about the Phillies. So when they came at this 10th inning, well, then there was okay, so we talked about on the podcast how the Astros are not a stranger to extra innings because they played 18 innings with Seattle, and we were kind of nervous that we're what if this goes into 18 innings, and
the longest day ever.
I know. It was what do I do? And then we're my aunt is not waiting up for us, but waiting up for us to get we have technically somewhere to be after this. It was just a thing. And unfortunately, JT Realmuto hit a home run at the top of the 10th inning, and we were so close to coming back at the bottom of the 10th, and it didn't work. So we had a loss, and it was rough because I was to be that close. But I guess in hindsight, I'd rather it be that way than a shutout. Well, then game 2 happened in Houston, and Zach Wheeler started for Phillies, and he's their go-to guy. And within the first, and so I had an engagement party. I came back to Baton Rouge, and I had an engagement party that night, and I was I'm going to be present. I'm not going to look at my phone. I just and so I told my sister, I was can you text me if anything happens? I really and my friends she lives in DC, so I never get to see her. So I just really want to be in the moment. And then all of a sudden my sister's this is awesome. And I'm wait, what's happening? And luckily they had it on at the engagement party, but before I had gotten there, within the first 4 pitches, we were up. So Zach Wheeler, who is Philly's ace, who's technically supposed to be our Verlander, had the first pitch to Altuve was a double. And it's great because Altuve had been kind of in a slump. So to have him come back and start a game with a great hit is great. Then Jeremy Pena, who we'll talk about later, also hit a double, which brought Altuve in for a score. And then Yordan Alvarez came up, and I think he hit a double. So then Pena came in. So like and then like it was just something.
Just
and then
takes
Bregman
one
hit a
one
home
time.
run. Like so like within 4 pitches, we had the lead, and it was
Yeah.
like, oh, dude, this is their ace. Like, what's going on? So I think it just shows you how great the World Series is, because you think you know the storyline, and you don't know the storyline. So we ended
Yeah.
up winning game 2.
So now were you at the
I
TV at
wasn't.
the game now? I
Yes,
mean, at the engagement party
I
now?
was mingling. I was mingling, but a lot of the guys were like, "Oh," and I was like, "I was there last night," and they're like, "Oh," and so like you had to tell the story. So then so we start the series tied, and I'm like, "Okay, great." Because I've said this before, I did not think the Phillies were the underdog, and I feel like everybody was treating them like the underdog, and they weren't. So then we go to Philly, and I've been in Citizens Bank, Trust Park, whatever, and it is a brutal place if you were cheering for the other people. And like honestly, I've seen them throw trash at their own players. Like, if that just tells you what kind of franchise or fan base they are.
Yeah.
Yes. Like literally will just boo their own players. Like, just, they were like ruthless. And I heard that the San Diego, so they played the Padres before they played the Astros, that the San Diego, their shortstop, for people who don't know, players can have like a little, I can't remember what it's called, but it's like a little microphone or like little speaker, to where they can hear what the catcher is going to call for the pitch. So they all can like shift, or they all can they know what's coming. So the fact that the San Diego shortstop normally he kept his volume on 8, but at the Phillies park, he had to turn it up to 20 to hear what was coming.
It's like, he was in Tiger Stadium.
Right. It's pretty much like, I'm like, that's how like the equivalent. I was like, oh, it's probably like how anyone who feels like on a Saturday night in Death Valley. So anyway, so like I just knew that like Philly, like I just knew we had to get through Philly. Like, that's just really like where my anxiety was.
Get back home.
Then and everyone was saying that the best thing about the Astros was that we had a better bullpen than Phillies did, because there was like a big like question mark about like who's going to start game 4. Well, lo and behold, there's a rain delay for the Monday game, to where it eventually gets moved to Tuesday, which I don't know what the stats are of that happening in the World Series, but it doesn't happen a lot, because a lot of people have roofs on their stadium.
And that throws your mindset off.
Throws your mindset off. And then it gives them more time to rest their pitchers. So it's kind of like, oh, the one thing that the Astros had going for them, they were able to rest. They could push. Zach Wheeler got an extra day for his arm fatigue, because apparently his velocity was low. And then they just got to be able, everyone got to rest. And it was like, crap. So then Tuesday came, it was game 1, and Philly fans were just like losing it. And I could not watch that game. I don't have cable, and I saw a little bit of it, and it was whenever things were starting to take off for Philly, because Lance McCullers, the Astros pitcher, it is rumored that he was tipping his pitches. So for those of you who don't know, as of me, when this was happening, because I was on Twitter and I was like, what does tipping pitches mean? So basically he was giving signs to them about what was coming. So like if you research this on Twitter, his leg was going higher for his curveballs than it normally, than his other pitches. So Bryce Harper caught on to that. He hits a home run. He tells Alec Baum, he hits a home run. So they met a world record, or a World Series record, or tied it with 5 home runs in a World Series game. So the park is just losing it. And I am just I'm so glad I took a sleeping vitamin that night, because I was like, I just need to go to sleep. I don't like dealing with this. And then I probably could have listened. I do better when I can listen and not watch, because I think visually I just get stressed out. Whereas listening, I'm like, okay, and I can do other things.
Yeah.
And so which I'll talk about for game 5. So then, but we answered the call, because on game 3, also still in Philly, and that we did the best thing to answer the call, and we had a combined no-hitter, the second no-hitter in World Series history since the 20s or 40s, I don't remember, but
a long time.
Christian Javier just brought heat. And what I really love about this guy is that he was they show clips of him, and I think he's Colombia, and he is throwing pitches out like in like on dirt roads, like in 2020, like just 2 years ago, he was no one, like no
I
one.
love that.
And then he came in, he was able to do and then he was also, him and Presley, who is our closer, were a part of the no-hitter that took place in the Yankee Stadium early this year. So like the fact that they're not only like, normally it takes people like their whole pitching careers to be a part of a no-hitter, and the fact that these guys did it twice in one season, like months apart.
Those are the no-hitter brothers.
Incredible.
Like,
Yes.
yeah.
And like, and then, and his like, Javier's like parents were there and they like called it. They're like, you're going to do a no-hitter. And he's like, okay. And then like he did it. So it was,
Manifested.
yes. And
Aw.
like, I think it's great. And I just really think like as an Astros fan, that was the best answer to the Phillies stadium. Like not
Yeah.
necessarily like the Phillies, like to their fans,
In
because
this,
like
in their
people
face.
in their stadium, because they were undefeated at home. And I was like, oh my God. And like, that's where I was just like, we just have to win one. We just have to win one. And like to have that answer of a no-hitter was great. And then game 5 happened and it wasn't that exciting, but Justin Verlander was up again. And we were all, and it's so funny because Twitter's like, it's bad when we have the Cy Young winner and we're like, oh crap.
Yeah.
And
man, he has one bad game and
like,
y'all just.
and then, but like we just knew. And so
Yeah.
for those of you who are listening and who don't know, Justin Verlander has been around for a while. He's 39. He came back after a Tommy John surgery and he had a record year this year. But like postseason, he has been in the postseason. He's like been into the World Series. Like I think you're like 7. Like he's had like 7 appearances and he's never gotten like a win in the game. Like he's won a World Series, but he's never won a game. Like the win has never happened.
Yeah.
So he got the win on Thursday, and it's really funny. So I went home. I went to see my dad, and to talk about my superstitions. I really get nervous, and
those are like, real in sports.
They're real. I feel like I feel like they're really real in baseball. Like baseball, like if you look up like Craig Biggio and like his superstitions of like his workouts before the game, like I believe like baseball is the game of superstition. So I'm at my house and like me and Megan, my sister, we've always joked. We were like, so are you taking the bath this game or am I taking the bath? Because she took a bath during the Seattle games where we won. And I took a bath on the game with the Yankees that we ended up winning. So I was like, you got like, what you doing? And she's like,
you gotta alternate.
One. And I was like, no, I'm going now. And I think like they had like, I can't remember. I think they had like done a really good play. I can't remember. But I was like, I'm going to take a bath. My dad's like, now? And I'm like, it's a part of the process, Kirk. It's a part of the process. So we did. And then like we did really, like, I think we got like a double. I think Altuve got a double or something. And I was like, I'm staying in the bathtub. And then you can only stay in the bathtub for so long. But I was like reading a book and like I could just listen to the game, but like I couldn't watch the game. I just felt like every time I was like, just read. And we ended up winning the game. So I was like, oh, that's what I have to do now. I just have to go read when we're in trouble. So fast forward to Saturday night. And for those of you who don't know, there's a really big game also happening in Baton Rouge, a little thing called Bama versus LSU. And neither game was stressless.
No.
So we are going back. I was just really tired. I'm not gonna lie. I couldn't go to the game and I just needed to sleep off all the exhaustion.
Well, I feel like from the start of this World Series, you just had
I was just going. And I was like, I probably need to like chill. Like, and that was it's so funny you bring that up because a part of me was like, Meredith, I can't believe you're gonna miss the game. And it was like, Meredith, you also haven't like think about what you did last week. Like you traveled to a World Series game, got in late, then traveled home, went straight to an engagement party. Then I think you can, no one's going to judge you if you don't go to this game. And I'm like, fine. So we're watching Bama versus LSU while also watching game 6. And my sister had called game 6 for the Astros this entire time. And
yeah, they're like, leading. And so they only needed one. So it's like you have to watch. Yeah.
But we've never, if you look at our post, so this is fast forward, rewind. So as I'm leaving game 1 and I'm a little like, we're walking down from section 427.
You gotta work out.
Dude, I don't know where he is, but his name is Chris Jones. And he was walking down the path with me and he was like, guys, did you know that we've never won a game 1 in the World Series?
Look at the bright side.
And then I was like, wait, what? Because I do well with facts. I'm logic.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what you mean? And he was like, yeah, if you look at our record, like we've never won a game 1. And I was like, okay. next year,
Thank
I know
you.
to not buy game one. Like, great. Like, I really did. I was like, thank you.
But
What's
you
your
got
game?
to see Nola, so
Yes,
that was
I
a
did.
good part.
That's
Yeah.
why I did. That's why I did
Yep.
game one. But I was like, oh, I don't feel so bad now because like we're just not known to win. So like next year,
Yeah,
if we're
so
not
next
playing
year.
the Phillies, I'll just be like, hey Megan, we can go like any game.
Maybe it'll be the Dodgers in
Yes.
them.
Right, exactly. You can go to game one, Aaron. And so anyway, but then like game 6, if we're gonna look at facts, I was like, oh, we have never won a game 6. But I was like, but we're home and we have all this like history on our side. Like Verlander finally got his win. Then we had like the combined hitter. Like we just have had all these like things happening. And for those of you who don't know, Dusty Baker is the manager for the Astros. He came in and he recovered our team during the scandal of like cheating and like the banging the can and everything. So he took us in when we really needed someone to stick with us, and he like got us out of it.
Why you're talking about him, because like wasn't he like at home, like he wasn't working when he got the call?
No,
like, he's supposed to go somewhere.
He had been turned down by the Phillies.
Yeah,
I learned that Saturday night.
Yes,
that he was like,
and he's sitting at home visiting his son,
yes.
And then the Houston calls.
Yes, and so this whole time, and then he's the oldest manager. Like he's a player,
and the third black
manager. And so like this whole like series has just been like, it just means different. I know that like I'm probably annoying everyone who doesn't get it, but it was just different this year.
No,
so I was like, no, I think we can do game 6. I was like, I think we can do game 6. So we go and I'm watching, and I'm also like watching the stressful LSU Bama game, but I'm like, oh my god,
because you can't miss either of those.
No, and then like you have major FOMO because I was like, I can't believe we sold our tickets. We could be there, but I was like, oh, if I was there, I'd be watching the World Series the whole time anyway. Like it was like I'm better to where I can see both. So then we go and like we're watching, and all of a sudden, like we're not even watching the game, but I'm checking it on my phone, and Kyle Schwarber hits a stupid home run. And I don't like Kyle Schwarber because Kyle was a little whiny baby or a little pouty baby whenever we hit the no-hitter, or we pitched the no-hitter on Wednesday. And he was like, I don't know, I just didn't like how he handled it. And so he hits the home run, and I'm like, of course,
I like you for right now.
And I don't know. He's the one, he's on the Phillies. I don't like him. So I like sit there and I tell my mom and my dad, I go, well, I gotta go read. And my mom wasn't home Thursday night. She's like, what are you talking? I'm like, this is a part of the process. I have to go read. I gotta go read my golf book. And this is what happened. I have to do it. And she's like, okay. I'm pretty sure my parents are like, think that like I'm crazy. So I just have to do it. So then I go and I read my book, and it's a really great golf book. I'll like share it if anybody's interested. So I'm reading it, and then like my parents are going back and forth to games. So I'm like looking at my phone, but like not looking at my phone, just trying to be like in the moment. And all of a sudden I hear that we get like some people on base, and I was like, okay, great. Like Pena gets on base, and Altuve gets on base, and I was like, oh yeah, like Altuve had like he like pressed for like a double or like a triple. I can't remember, but I remember he like his little tiny self was just running.
Yeah.
And so I'm hearing cheers. I'm like, okay, that's good. That's good. Like, just keep reading.
I listen for cheers too.
I know. I'm like, okay. And then all of a sudden, I like heard Yordan Alvarez's hit, and I was like, oh my god! And I threw my book because I'm in like another room. I was like, hold on. Like, then you're like, is it work? Did I work? And did I like single-handedly do this?
You did.
And Yordan Alvarez first. So it's been known. ESPN did an article that every time that Phillies changed their starting pitcher, something happened. They pulled Nola in game 4, and then we like someone hit like a grand slam, or like someone hit like a double, and like basically anytime they take out their starting pitcher, something happens the very next pitch. Game 4, bases were loaded. They had to pull Aaron, and Alvarado, the same guy who came in for game 6, hit Yordan Alvarez. So he took a base. So Altuve scored. So that's how they get the first run. So like, then everything just Bregman did his thing and like, whatever. So like, so anytime they changed their pitcher, so they take Wheeler out because he had finally like, I guess, gotten to 90 something pitches. I don't know. So then they bring in Alvarado again. And I'm like, this is when statistically, this is like logically, this is like when things happen. And then all of a sudden, y'all, this pitch was 99 miles an hour. and Yordan Alvarez hit it dead center, like 400 something feet. And like all the announcers were like, I have never seen a ball go that far. Like no one hits it over there. And so then it became 3-1. I mean, 3-1. And the whole thing, like you could just tell that Minute Maid Park was lit and like we were winning it. And then next, that we had, I think Maldonado hit a single and Bregman was able to score. So we went up 4-1. And like, you just knew at that moment, you just knew. Yes. And it was a beautiful thing. So then MVP was Jeremy Pena, who,
oh my God, that's my new favorite person in the MLB.
I think he deserves to be your favorite person because now they're calling him like MVP Pena. And so to give you a little background, yes. He was a nobody too. I think he's come on like for like he came in from like minors. He had really big shoes to fill with Carlos Correa. He's now with the Indian Twins. These ones. I don't know, he's not an Astro anymore. But he was someone who was really like the face of the Astros, who took us like with the scandal and everything. So Pena had a really big like shoes to fill. Like if you're gonna be the shortstop, you gotta do this. And he has performed in every season. First shortstop, I think first shortstop rookie to hit a home run in the World Series. He's like, he got the gold glove, which is better than the silver, which is what a lot of our guys got, but he got the gold glove. And then he got a hit just about like at every at bat. Like I'm just so excited that we get him for a little bit longer.
Do you know where he's from?
I don't.
That's what I'll look up, but go ahead.
But no, and so like you can just tell that like he's like the one who does the heart for his mom all the time. And I just am so glad he got it, because I do think that was so great about this team this year, is that it was kind of like, it wasn't Altuve. Bregman came in clutch every time with his Breggy bombs. And then, but like you had Yordan Alvarez, who had not done anything since Seattle. Like he did nothing like he hit doubles and stuff, but like he hadn't home runned since like when we really needed him to in Seattle. So like the fact that like, you just never knew, like, I feel like Pena and Bregman were the two consistent ones. Like you just knew that they were going to perform at some point in that game, and kind of Kyle Tucker, but Kyle Tucker did really well game one, but it was just such a good thing. And then so Dusty Baker now wins because he's the manager, and it's so great if you just like seeing happy old men, like old Dusty Baker getting excited, and he like 73 or 75 years old, and like it's his first World Series win. And it's just like, and now he's like, well, I got one, I got another one. But like, he does really kind of talk about like perseverance, about how like, basically he really wanted that Phillies job. And his son said, like, that's not where God wanted you to be. And then he got the call to come to Houston. And he really and like to see all of them say, like, I did this for you. I did this for you. I just feel like this was the team to be like, I understand, like you can say whatever you want about 2017. I still think it counts, but like whatever, because everyone cheats. But like this was I think that's why it was different this year, was that this was the team that I was like, no, I think that they all just genuinely want it for Dusty. I think and then they want it for Justin. They want it for Michael Brantley, who's like one of our star performers, and he has a shoulder injury, so he couldn't play any of the season. So like there was just all these like really good. And then there's Trey Mancini, who played. He had cancer. He had cancer 2 years ago. He was getting diagnosed with cancer, and the fact that like 2 years later he's a World Series champion. And he had a clutch game. Sorry. Oh my God. Sorry, Aaron. He hadn't been hitting well. He'd been our like designated hitter, and he had not been hitting well, but he was our first baseman. And oh my God, game 5. So sorry. So game 5, I was like, oh, game 5 wasn't that exciting. No, it was, because we had two intense defensive plays. Trey Mancini, so it's funny because like if you're in first base, you normally get away from the line, the bounds. I don't know why I'm the baseline. Sorry. I don't know why I'm blanking on that. It's baseline. Normally the first baseman step a little away. And I think like Ben Verlander like reported that basically all like that's where he was supposed to be, and he wasn't. He was like close to the baseline, and I think it might have been Schwarber or it might have been Cassiano, I can't remember, hit a line drive, and if Mancini would not have been there, it would have been a single, and it would have gotten like runs. and it must have been Castellano because I think Bryce Harper was on second. I can't remember, but like he like made a stop, like just like that, to stop it, to put the out on first, to get the like the inning over. And it was just like, and he like, it was so just great to know that like, I don't care, you're not hitting, you just like, you saved the game. And then Chas McCormick was our I call it the Angels in the outfield moment, because JT Realmuto, who was the savior in game one, stepped up bottom of the eighth, and he hits this bomb to center field. And then there's like a part where like, so we have Chas McCormick, who is Philadelphia born and raised, and he like cheered for the Phillies, and now it's like this awkward moment where he's like, oh, sorry. And so he's center field, and then Kyle Tucker is right field. And they have this like picture of them like looking at each other, like who's gonna get the ball, like beforehand. And I was like, that's so stressful to know that they weren't sure like who should cover it. And if you aren't familiar with it, I'm sorry, I'm talking about this forever. He like jumps and like catches the ball and like falls down. Like I'm telling you, like it was the Angels in the outfield like moment. Like he lifted
Every time I think
to catch it. It's a great, and you can't find it anymore. You have to like buy it. It's like annoying. So then he like just steps there, and like literally Presley is our closer at the time, and Presley is going like, oh my God, like our pitcher is like knowing that saved it. And like JT Realmuto was like, oh my God, like he thought, like it was just insane. So like I just really love this team because it was really like everyone had
there's like a lot of stories.
Yes. Like to where it wasn't just like it wasn't just like the hot shots either. It was like,
pieces, like was someone that came up from it. The other guy that you said from Colombia, I don't remember all their names because they are kind of, but like just the stories. And I love the cheering that the guys did after they won in the dugout. You know, it was Dusty.
It was all for him. That's what I was thinking. Because he really did save the franchise. He saved it. Like I just think that it couldn't have gone to just anyone. And he
and like you said, like with God, just perseverance, and like you never know I mean, that's like a life lesson to all of us. Like if you get rejected from something, like don't think that's the end. Like he thought he wanted that one.
Plans, man. What you think you want? Yeah, you could have been on the losing end, or you could have been fired. Like their actual manager was this year. So and I do want to give props to the Phillies because they were the only team to give us our losses technically. And then I do think just what they did with the interim coach, like he stepped in, he got turned it around completely. That's what I was like. He took it.
And it took it to game 6. Like it was like a back and forth because like I wasn't watching the games, but I followed like who won and stuff, and I'm like, damn, this is like back and forth. Like you get it now, we get it. Like
and everyone said
we have a really good game.
We had the lead when we were playing the Nationals coming home, and it ended with them celebrating on our field. And that's the reason why I did not buy game 6 tickets, because I was like, I'm not risking the chance of watching them.
I'm not paying
celebrate on my field. I was like, game 1, there's always a game 2 after, so I'm going to game 1. But
yes, that
wasn't the that was not the only exciting game on Saturday.
Yeah, so you're stress watching both, but I was like, of course, we're watching the LSU and Bama game, and I'm like, Nick's got this. Like everyone in Baton Rouge was like,
Alabama has think it was that he had it, but I knew it was going to be a game. I knew it was going to be a game.
Well, I was like, I knew I'm a Nick Saban fan.
I like Nick. I like
Alabama, so I'm just like, oh yeah, I want to. But the beginning of that game was a little bit slow. Halftime, I switched over to the Astros, but then they were no scoring, so I was like, okay, let me go back. Like it needs time. They were only in the 3rd or 4th inning, I think.
It was a slow game until the 6th,
and so then going back and forth. But then it was like after halftime, the LSU game.
I don't know what they did.
Crazy.
Well, then like we got ahead, and then it was 2 minutes left, and I don't remember what year it was. I think it was like 2018 maybe, or I don't know. It was 2018 or 2016 where I had seen Nick Saban win with 2 minutes left on the trip. You know what I mean? Like in Tiger Stadium, I was like, nope, seen this. What is that Taylor Swift lyric? I've seen this film before, and I didn't
But
like
that's
the ending.
how,
I was
that's
like,
how
nope.
the Alabama does though. Like they'll be
Yeah.
down in the beginning of the first half and come back the second half and then just take it. So yeah, I wasn't, but it was a really good game. The Tigers, the LSU Tigers ended up winning, beating Alabama, which it was great for the head coach, Kelly Bryan, who's came
Brian
over.
Kelly?
This is Brian
Brian
Kelly.
Kelly.
Yeah, I'm like, that is not right. Thank you.
We're
Brian
still learning
Kelly.
him ever.
Oh my God, is this? No. Brian Kelly, I'm not good with names. No, but Brian Kelly is his first year
I think that's just
as head
amazing.
coach.
That
But he has been like pretty much battling. He was at Notre Dame, but battling Nick Saban like to win. Nick has always beat him every matchup. And so he finally got the win, and he was interviewing with Holly Rowe, and she's like, "You have tears in your eyes, and that's not you, coach." He was like, "I know, but this win," like he didn't say it like that,
it
y'all,
isn't
but
right. Yeah, but like this win
he was
does
so
mean
excited.
so much to this
So
city.
emotion.
Because
Yeah.
because we hadn't won since 2019, which was the like that was just the best year that we're ever
This
going
is
to
the World
experience.
Series for them.
Yes.
Like this is
And
championship, even though it's
And
not.
I think that, and it was weird because I know that like a lot of people, because we went in, they were 6 and we were 10. And I remember a lot of people being like, oh, like, should we be 10? Like, should, like, I
And
don't know if
someone
we should be
said, I
10.
think that we got that only because ESPN wanted to see this make it a bigger game, like the game
And
of
I
the
think
week
it
type
delivers. I
deal.
think it delivered.
Yeah.
Because I remember a lot of people being like, I don't know if that's like accurate.
Right.
And then I just think it's why you love football. It's why you love LSU football, because again, like those are
went into
young kids out
over-
there. That's a young team
So
that we
the
have. And
person,
yeah,
yeah. Go.
like all of them, half of them are freshmen.
Yeah, so the
right?
person that won, that got the extra point, because it went into overtime, and so with college, you each get a chance to score. Bama
Miles
scored,
Taylor, right? Because
then we scored. Mason Taylor got it, and he's a freshman, and his dad is Jason Taylor, who played for Miami, and his aunt is
who
Joy
also
Taylor.
played. He played for Saban. Which I thought
Jason?
wasn't, yes, Jason
At
Taylor
Miami or in
played for
college?
Saban. No, for Saban in Miami.
Miami, yeah, because
Yes,
Jason was
and
there.
so I
Yeah.
thought that was an interesting, like,
And we've
oh,
already kind of talked about how he didn't do good in the
yes.
pro. So
Well, it was because he couldn't
talk to
control
the guys.
anyone when they
Yeah.
were making $300 million or something.
But I mean, imagine Mason is the man on campus now.
Of course. And he made like numerous catches that were,
I think that was his
needed,
second.
right? Yeah,
Yeah.
he made another one in the game that I was like,
Yeah.
oh, we're gonna hear
No,
that
he
name
did
a lot.
really good. Yeah.
Yeah. And
He had a
then
really good game.
and then Jaden just came in and did that touchdown for the first play in overtime for us, which I feel like that's where I was like, oh, they're like, they can do it. And then I think like for a lot of people listening, normally, like if you saw Alabama kick the field goal for the extra point in the well, no, because
Tennessee game.
No, like in the game, like for overtime.
This game.
Yeah, so normally that's what we were gonna do, and Brian Kelly was like, "Yeah, I don't feel like
because we would have tied it. Yeah,
we're gonna go for 2," which
and
I
he
think is such a gutsy play. Which I feel like that's when LSU is the best. I feel like when we have a coach who's going to do trick plays and do things like going for it on fourth and like that is when we like. If you are in Tiger Stadium, that is when we do best. And like, why not at this point? Like,
and that's what Jaden said.
When you talk about that, like when you talk about trusting, because I know a lot of people talked about. So for those of you who don't know, LSU had a very close game 1 against Florida State, and it came down to the nail biter. It came down to the winner.
That was exciting.
And I remember somebody said that they noticed that Brian Kelly, like, so if you don't remember, some of our receivers were dropping balls or just missing.
It wasn't a good
our
start
special
to the
teams
game.
Weren't catching punts and doing things. And somebody mentioned on Twitter that they're like, but notice that Brian Kelly never pulled them. Like he never pulled them to be like, you're done, you had your shot, whatever. But he wanted to show them that he trusted them so that could make them trust themselves. And I think because, I mean, I know that it wasn't pretty at the beginning of the season, but
they've gotten better.
But look at what that trust has done to where he's like, hey, we're gonna go for it on 2. And like
Yeah.
they all did it, and like it was beautiful. And I think that just shows you, like, I'm just excited to see where it goes. And I know that everyone's like, oh, like, I hate when people are like, well, what would have happened if he would have missed it? And I'm like,
well,
he
yeah,
would have
there's
lost.
always that, because
But
what if he didn't
yes,
get the touchdown? What if there's
exactly.
always
Like
a
you
what
can sit
if.
there and do all of
He
that. And then
did.
like honestly, I think, I mean, I do think we're a very rare place where I don't think it would have been pretty, but I think like to lose by 1 to Alabama would have been a hell of a lot better than a blowout to like what we had against Tennessee. Like,
No,
you know what I
yeah.
mean? Like, and so
Oh
I
yeah,
think
I wouldn't been wanting to walk around the city. And then luckily the Saints are playing. So we're filming this on Monday. The Saints are playing today, so they didn't mess up our Sunday, because if they
yes.
had lost after that.
Oh my God.
But
I do think you just love Louisiana after an LSU win against Bama. Like,
oh yeah, you can
just all
definitely,
doing
so
great.
I'm not from here, but you can definitely tell how a Saturday night went the next day, and then
It's
don't
like
let
an
the
aura.
Saints, yeah,
Like,
don't let the Saints,
like
but
settles over the city.
But what else is exciting about this win is that it pretty much, most likely, because it's not like for sure, but knocks Alabama out of the college playoff run, because now Alabama has two losses in the
The
SEC.
SEC, yeah.
Yeah, so they're most likely not going. And so also on Saturday night, Georgia beat Tennessee, which Tennessee was number 1. So they took them down and they beat them at home, which I love watching. And I love watching Elle Duncan when any Atlanta.
She was tweeting up a storm. She was
Yes.
like, y'all go
As
back
soon as
home.
I saw that, I was like, let me go see what Elle put out. And then Notre Dame, which at the beginning of the football season, I put on Instagram, because they have a Black coach who took over after
Brian Kelly.
I'm about to call him Kelly again. Brian Kelly left to come to LSU. So they had a rough start to the season, but they beat Clemson, who
was like number 4, number 3.
Yeah. And so they dropped them down, but they got a win. So it was pretty exciting for that. So like my Saturday was like sports. It was LSU and Bama, then the Astros. So they ended. Then I got to watch the ending of the Astros game to see them win, to see that catch to that foul ball. Who caught that? The outfielder. I was like, oh no, my
that
God,
was Kyle Tucker.
Yeah. And then I switched over to since I was still up, my USC team didn't make it to the end of that game.
I was like, how did that go? I was like, yeah.
They won. I didn't make it to the end because that's like 11:30.
We can't do that.
Right. But yeah, so it's exciting Saturday that happened within college football altogether, and then the World Series. So now we're done with the MLB for now. Whatever they do off seasons, getting ready, contracts, all of that. And
free
then
agency.
Before we know, spring is going to be here.
144
spring
days,
training. See, we already count down. So then we'll be starting all over again.
All over again.
We'll be back.
I hope so.
Will be back. So
they were your little LA Times or like LA, like what some news place in Los Angeles like tweeted about the Astros beating the Phillies with like a no-hitter, and they're like, just a reminder, the Astros were accused of cheating when they played the 2000 whatever like Dodgers. Anyway, those Astros won like last night, like blah, blah,
we're not gonna let you forget.
But then sorry, Erin, but then somebody tweeted and they're like, well, we keep trying to invite you back for a rematch, but you just won't show up. And I was like, oh.
No, I love those Twitter beefs though, like especially when like organizations
we keep trying to have a rematch, but y'all won't show up. I don't know how y'all can't make it, Erin.
It makes it more interesting when we do show back up next year. Now that Dusty has
that title. We got that title.
I can stop cheering for Dusty now because he has one. So it's over. But no, so NBA, I went to the Pelicans game on Friday. They played the Warriors. They won. It was a great game. I love that atmosphere. It's pretty exciting. They have some great players on their team.
I want to go to one this year.
Yes, I was a little upset though because I'm expecting, oh, Warriors, good game. There's a lot of Warriors fans too in New
Yeah.
Orleans there, and I'm like, okay, but yeah, the starters weren't playing, and I'm like, I
Isn't that
can't.
the worst? Isn't that the worst that you
Yes,
show up and you're like, I just want to see so and so, and it's like street
like,
clothes.
and then how is like Steph, Draymond, and Clay all out? Like everyone's out, started except for Poole. So
And then it's always like, no offense, I understand that they're human and they have to like take care of their bodies, but it's always like a shoulder or like tightness or like something where you're like, are you serious? Like I
because
came
there
in all
was
this
no
year.
bandage on none of
Yes,
them.
that happened whenever we went to it was a couple of years ago when Jerk was still with the Mavs and I wanted to see Jerk play and I was like Jerk 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 and then I was like
Yeah,
why is he wearing a half zip, what is going on, like, and then I had to go again, I had to go like later that year, I was like no, I'm seeing Jerk before he retires. But yeah, I think it's worse when like
yeah.
it's like
I felt
something like soreness, like
yeah, and I feel like they should text me when they're not. So I'm like Googling, like, why aren't they
an
playing? And
alert. I
yeah,
need an alert on them.
yeah.
Yes,
Like I need to know who's out playing.
but the
The
Pelicans had a good game, right?
they did. They have some great guys. Jose, oh, I can't think of his last name, but he was pretty good. Puerto Rican. Um, it was cute. There was a fan there with his dad, and the dad had a big Puerto Rican flag and was like trying to get his attention pregame.
Aw.
And he saw them, but like the little boy was like so embarrassed of his dad. Like he looked back, like we were 2 rows back, and he looked back, he was like, like like why is he doing this? But then Jose like, fist bumped them kind of from
Right.
the air. And then he was like all happy. And I was like, see, you're embarrassed by your daddy,
See,
but
that's like my sister and I went to go see Peyton Manning one year. He played when the St. Louis Rams like were still a thing. And my parents got us like 50-row ticket. It was like 50-yard tickets, like fourth row. It was for both of our
ooh.
birthdays. And we made like a sign that said like these Louisiana girls love Peyton or whatever. And the L was like the boot. And like I just held it up and he was drinking Gatorade and he like did that. He did exactly this. He goes, like he read my sign and I was like, oh my God, oh my God. And somebody was like, did you see that? He gave you a head nod. I'm like, okay, you saw that too. So I was like,
Like,
this
oh
is the
my God,
happiest
how do
day of my
I
life.
say
Yeah.
this?
I was like, oh my God, right? Like, yeah. So yeah, never
Yeah,
underestimate a good sign, guys. Never
which is good
underestimate.
because of those that don't know, Peyton Manning grew up in Louisiana because his dad played for the Saints. So
Yes.
that probably really did catch him. And he
And
went
here I
into
am like in
Louisiana.
St. Louis. Like it was
I'm
the closest
following you.
he came. And then like you were just so nervous because you just never knew, like when you don't know if they're gonna retire, you're like, I have to see them now. Cause then you don't even know what the schedule the next year is gonna be. So you're like, this is the closest he's coming. I gotta go see him.
Unless you're a
So
Tom Brady fan, he'll just keep coming back. But yes, no, you definitely have to
maybe.
see them. Um, but yeah, so what else is being talked about in the NBA? I don't know if many of you guys saw, but Kyrie Irving, there's a lot going around with him because he promoted, I'm putting in quotes because he's saying he didn't promote it, but he put it on his social media.
Which I think is interesting that he's like, I didn't promote it. And that's like, you have to like I just feel like,
Well, he's saying he's giving knowledge that you should
yeah,
listen to this. He's not saying that what's in this film, it's an uh,
anti-Semitic.
yeah.
Semitic. Yeah.
You guys know I'm not good with words, so I'm not even gonna try
Anti-Semitism.
that
Yes.
because I can say it, but then when I'm on camera or something, then it's
Yes.
like it doesn't come
There's a
out.
lot of eyes in that
Because,
word in
yeah,
your defense. So like Semitism. Yeah.
yeah, but it's around. Kanye West is
Yeah.
just the whole thing about him, but it's a video that's on Netflix or Amazon, um, talking about this, and he put it on his social media. So he got suspended. He plays for the Brooklyn Nets. There's a big
It
population.
also should be stated that Kyrie is someone who also believes that the earth is flat. And he is
Yes, he does
someone
have
who
things.
does to promote. Yeah. He puts a lot of stuff out there.
Yeah. So, and the big controversy earlier, well, not earlier, during COVID, he went and get the COVID shot vaccine and put
Oh
some
yeah, he
stuff
was a
out.
big guy about that.
And so, since New York had a rule, he didn't play during
He could be in
that
the
time.
arena, but he could
He
not
couldn't play only when they were in New
Same.
York. Yeah, so he could play on the road if another state didn't have those guidelines. So this is now something else, but he's suspended for at least 5 games. He was asked to give a promotion, an apology. But I saw on Twitter and I couldn't find it, or Instagram, but there's like this list of demands that like the Nets are telling him to do. He
has to like meet with like he has to do like education and like he has
and
to,
then
he has to do
he had to donate $500,000, or he did donate. I don't know if he had to, but they donated to organizations that, don't support this. They fight for removing all this anti-hate and everything. And so he had to do that. He had to apologize, but then there was a thing because he went on and said something in a conference, but he didn't apologize. Or they didn't like the way he did it because he didn't say sorry.
Just feel like I would hate to be a celebrity.
Yeah, because
like I always like I never want to say that they don't mean it because you really don't know. But then they're like, that's not.
But
but
it's like I'm saying, I understand where I was wrong and I shouldn't have did this, but he's not apologizing because he really doesn't feel like he was promoting it. So how do you tell someone that you should feel that way? But anyway, so he has that going on. We don't know if he'll be back, but now there was also some talks about he could get traded. The Lakers were looking at him, but now they're like, I don't know. I guess because
I think like right now he's like
a problem.
Now he's a PR. He's a PR problem. Because like who's to say like he doesn't have good work ethic, and who's to say he's like not a good teammate? Like no one's saying that, but it's the fact
he just
that,
has a lot that comes out of his mouth that doesn't agree.
And it's and like I think that it's already probably difficult. Like I feel like New York is just a really hard state to play for any franchise, whether it's football, basketball, baseball. Like I think I've said that before. I think
we talked about
the face of any New York fan base. But like I think that like, and a part of me wonders like if he hadn't had the COVID thing last year and he hadn't had like the flat earth comments those years ago, like it's the fact that like this is what he's becoming like known for, unfortunately, like not his on the court performance, but like his off the court performance, that I think that, and like we've talked about it before, that costs people money. So a lot of people, but unfortunately, I don't know if it's unfortunately or not, but like I feel like this could either garner money because people want to see him for what he's done, or like people don't want to have like, I think like then you have like sponsors who are like, hey, we have a Jewish owner. We're not.
Well, and they said New York has a big Jewish population, but I think just coming on the heels of like everything with Kanye too, that like you said, sponsors, and
I do think that
so much.
Yeah, it's unfortunately relevant right now.
Yeah. So they have that, but then the Nets got a lot going on. Like they're just
that's a mess. So they just lost Steve Nash,
who used to play, but he wasn't.
I was like
I don't think
sad.
He was strong.
I was really cheering for him, but I don't think he was meant for New York. He wasn't a New York face. He played for the Suns and he played for the Mavs. Like that's a big franchise for that. And like, so I don't think he was meant for that.
Kevin Durant, Kyrie, Ben Simmons, Blake.
Like I think you can't, like if he went somewhere like even to like play, I think he could even coach Giannis like in Milwaukee. Like I think he was not a good match.
Wasn't a good fit for him.
Yeah, because like I think about like
we're saying,
because
Matt and Steven.
Because I think that like it just, and those personality, like we said, those guys, unfortunately, most of them are known for their personalities off the court than their performance on the court. So I think that like I just think it's probably like it's kind of different, but kind of not. But it's kind of like a Nick Saban situation. Like he probably had no control over these guys. He was nobody to them. Like you know what I mean? Like because
they were already too big. Like maybe if he didn't, like you said,
like if he went like. Because I mean, I think about Jason Kidd went to Mavericks and he turned like I just knew he was going to be a good fit for Luka. So I just feel like Steve Nash could be a good coach, but he's got to go
to a right organization.
Yeah.
So they fired him. I just hate to see him you know, lose his job in the middle, but he'll bounce back. But
But then they
then,
also chose a replacement
well, you're talking about
who,
Ime,
yes.
Ime.
That I'm like, just when they think that they're gonna like solve their PR problems, they go and
Yeah.
make a bigger PR mess.
So he's in the
Um,
front runner. I don't think he's been chosen. So I don't know who they're, I guess they did an interim, but so Ime Udoko, I think I'm saying
We
that right.
talked about it
We
a couple
talked
weeks
about,
ago because he cheated on his
yes,
partner with a staff member
yes. So Nia Long.
with the Celtics.
Yes, so he was with them. So he technically is still with the Celtics, but he's suspended.
Which I was wondering, could you do that? Like that's where I was like,
Well, I think you can you
like, do you know
trade
what I mean?
coaches? I
That's
think
what I
you
was
can
wondering.
trade. I think they were saying like you can trade and they can like trade for a draft spot or something because
I
he's
guess
still
like
in
when you're an interim,
contract. Huh?
I guess when you're interim, like I'm just thinking, like, what if like I'm just thinking,
Well,
like,
because
all of a
what
sudden,
they
what if like
trade.
Steve Kerr all of a sudden was just like, you know what, going to the Bulls, bye. Like, what?
Well, no, I
Like,
think if they're on contract, I'll have to look that up. But I think if they're on contract because
I mean,
he's
obviously it's allowed because they're doing it, but I'm just like, that's kind of crappy that like,
yeah, but you're getting traded just like a player. So it's like you need to give us some draft picks or a big
yeah.
player, I guess.
I guess I just don't hear it of it happening a lot.
Yeah. So they're looking at him, but then there's like more coming out for Udoko stuff because there's a independent law firm that's investigating Udoko and all of that situation, and that they found that he has used crude language. This is what the quote says. Crude language in his dialogue with a female subordinate prior to the start of an improper workplace relationship with the woman. So to me, that kind of is like, okay, now we're making her a victim, like she was.
Wait, but is that a separate person?
I don't know, but see how it makes it seem like workplace relationship with the woman. We only know one, so is it her? But they don't say.
But they said that like before, so it's almost like, oh yeah, and that's
But regardless, now it's like some bad
messy,
behavior on top of already, you know, being rude. So
sketchy. Yeah.
like you said, that's another PR mess. So do you go back down that road?
Oh,
And then
gosh.
also with the Nets, Kevin Durant could be looking to go with another team next year because he's not happy. He was stayed because they asked him to stay to work this out with Kyrie and Ben Simmons at the beginning of the year, but obviously that
Which
trio.
and y'all know I don't like Kevin, and I like don't blame him because I just feel like this is what y'all are
But look
gonna
at all this
like.
drama.
Like
And
exactly,
he
like
wants to win.
I do think that he wants to win. I do because I've said he's the chaser. He's a title chaser. But I do think like in his defense, and I will go on record, and I never thought I would defend Kevin Durant, but I'm like, if you put me in that mess, like with both of these messes, like it's one
It's
thing,
just a
like
lot.
Kyrie is fine because Kyrie can still like, but then you're giving me Ben Simmons to like
It's too much.
Steve Nash was just the beginning of his problem. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like that relieved everything. So, in his defense, I don't blame him.
Well, and he doesn't have that partner because with Kyrie, because if he's
He
suspended
can't
for
play.
at
Yeah,
least
can't
5
play.
games,
Yeah.
who knows what
And then, but that's like if he doesn't do all the stuff that he's supposed to.
right. That's
You know,
what I'm
like,
saying. So that's just 5 games, but now you might not even have that other partner that you were supposed to have.
which is why you went there in the first place. So I think
Right.
in his, I get it now, Kevin. I get it now. I didn't get it in the beginning.
We understand.
But I will get it now. If you get out, I understand. I just don't want him to go to like, I think he's like probably going to, but like go somewhere that you can like build something with other people. Like I feel like if he just went somewhere that was already like on the trajectory to like be the title winner, like am I making sense? Like I just don't want him to like, like I want him to go to someone that like if he went to the Suns to build with like Chris Paul, like I don't want it to be like the Lakers where it's LeBron and like, or go back to.
But clearly that doesn't work because we had superstars all together on the.
It's a mess right now. But like I don't want to go back to Golden State where it's like all these people when they're not street clothes. Yeah. But like I want it to be like go and build something. Like I think like that's what I want to see from him instead of just like topping to be like, oh well, they won it last year, I'm going to them. Like
and see that's where my thing was with
even if it's
LeBron.
like the Celtics.
with LeBron before he came to the Lakers, before he went to Miami. Well, when he went to Miami, I lost because I was like, why can't you first get that ring where
In
you're building
Cleveland.
it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but you had to leave and do a
Yeah.
superstar team. So I get what you're saying,
Yeah.
with Kevin on that. But yeah, so that's what's kind of happening there. Season's
The
going
NBA.
along. But those are some of the big things that paying attention to. So NFL will close out with one of our
Woo.
favorite things we talk about when the MLB is not going on and everything. But had some
I
great games.
don't
But
know what's going on. Like, and I know that like I've been like very in my funnel vision of MLB for like the last month and a half, but like Kirk Cousins is doing well. The Jets
did
are
you see
beating
his
yes.
celebration?
Like I am like, what is like
It's underdog like
it
season.
is like when I don't have the words because I am like whoever put money on any of these teams, you're
Yeah.
losing. Like Aaron Rodgers has like 5 losses. He lost to the
Aaron's
Lions.
gonna have to go back to wherever he went for like his meditation because he is like pissed.
And like I don't even like Shaylee, if he tries to call you, ignore that call. Do not, this is not on you. You need to send him to some retreat or whatever because oh boy.
Needs to find his
Needs to find
he's
himself.
not having
And then but like
favorite
I'm like sitting here, like, and then we'll talk about it later, but like the Colts mess and like I'm just like searching Instagram and I'm like, y'all, I like stopped watching y'all for like 2 weeks. Like, what is good? Then Joe Burrow had a great game. He had a rough game without Jamar Chase that first time because he's out. But then they answered, they heard the doubters, and him and Joe Mixon, I think they broke the franchise record, I think. This week.
And they did a celebration with their
they had
Remember the Titans.
Yes. Favorite movie. They had great celebrations this week. And then
Miami is still doing great.
Yes.
Jets
came. Philly is still doing well. At least
funny that the
y'all don't get Wait, what about the Jets?
That the Jets beat the Bills. Bills were at the start. We talked about that. About the Bills were projected or are projected the top contenders for the Super Bowl.
The AFC has just like woken up and like shaken things that you're like, oh, the Jets I don't know who's going to be the AFC championship. I don't know who it's going to be. Like,
and it was funny because Saturday Night Live did a spill with the Jets. Did you see that? Like Jet fans.
I'm gonna have to see it. Like, you seen the little kid who gets ice cream whenever they win?
No.
Did you see that? Oh my god, look him up. He's so cute. He gets ice cream every time the Jets
win. I love little kids being
very cute. And like they show him like when he realizes like, oh, I get to get like it's really cute. But
that's a way to get you interested in sports.
Yes.
You'll get ice cream
and then they're like, okay. And then like you probably are thinking like any of us thought about the Jets at the beginning of the season, like I'm never gonna have to take my kid out. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be fine. And it's like, okay, we have to take him every week now. But like I think damn. It's just been, and again, like we've said it this whole time. I do think that we're witnessing the fresh start of the new era. And I think that I don't know. I just I feel like I look at things and so like to talk about it. So like there's mess with an older quarterback. Matt Ryan was in Indy and they have not done well. And then so I realized that we talked at the last one. No, it's technically apparently it's like
but he's sitting out for the rest of the season.
Yes, but like
we talked about
also
that last.
But it's also because of he just isn't doing well. So the other guy,
but he's injured.
Yes, they're like, oh yeah. And so they fired their coach, but today. Yes, like
Monday,
today.
yes.
And then they called in an interim coach to be Jeff Saturday, and I don't expect anyone to know who Jeff Saturday is who's listening to
unless
he's a former sinner.
Yes. Like unless you watch ESPN. Yes. Your significant other, if they love sports, will know who Jeff Saturday is.
And he's a former sinner for the Colts. So he does have some ties to them. And he's like been a recruiter and consultant. Yeah. Yeah. So, but all of a sudden he's called in for their interim coach. And take in mind, he doesn't have any
college
coaching
or head,
experience.
yeah.
Like, he's just played center, and I'm not like demeaning that, but I just think, and we've talked about this, like, what message does that send to your staff that, like, your assistant coach, your offensive coordinator, like, you defensive court, like, no one on the staff could be promoted to be interim.
Like, let's just hope they asked and everyone said no, and that's why they went
Right? Like, I
out.
think that's like, because if not, I'd be like, I'm not working for you. Like, and first of all, I've always like just had issues with Jim Irsay ever since the handling of Peyton Manning retiring, or like leaving the Colts. I just
Yeah,
think
because he
that
went on to play.
wait, what? Yeah, and he went on to
'Cause
play.
he went on to
basically,
play
and they
still.
won it, and I get they wanted Andrew Luck, who was the top pick. I get it.
But if Peyton
But-
wasn't done,
But I also took it as like they didn't have faith in Peyton because of like all his surgeries and whatnot. So like I'm so glad that he went and won the Super Bowl with Denver to be like, and I know that he like still respects the organization, but I'm very glad that he got to do that. But anyway, so Irsay, like, I just think that that's a mess, and I just don't understand how like I don't understand how that starts a transition well. Like, I understand that transitions are messy regardless, because that's why they're transitions. But I don't understand how that.
but maybe because they're
Get you off
already
to a good
going
start.
down like shit.
What? Like, we're halfway through the season, so
We know we're not gonna go to the Super Bowl or the playoffs.
right? Like,
Maybe
let's just
we
call
look
in
it
Jeff.
up.
Let's call. You know what? We don't have to pay Jeff that whole like coach's salary. Let's just call him in. Like,
He just-
he'll just do
We're
us
just
a favor.
extending your consultant contract
Right?
to cover this.
It's
This
a
is your
mess
consultant
there.
now.
And then, but we're NFC's doing really well. Like, the Jets, are basically like New York is doing well because we got the Bills, we got the Giants, and we got the Jets, who are all like 6-2 or 6-3, which
The
is
whole
like
East Coast is just
yes. And then Philly is still undefeated. So like, see, Philly fans, y'all still have Philadelphia. Y'all got the
Yeah.
Eagles. Don't come at
it
me.
would have been nice.
But-
Well, yeah, and you weren't gonna have it would have been nice
Yes.
if they could have had both, but I guess it's Jalen's time in that.
I
case.
understand that you really like Bryce Harper, and I'm going to let you have that next year. But you know what? Bryce has time. Bryce is a Philly for life.
Yeah,
He
I
has
know you
time.
said that. I did want him to win it, but I did love seeing Dusty
Exactly.
get it.
It was for Dusty.
Because I was
literally
torn between
tweeted you. I
Dusty
was like,
and-
Dusty does not have time.
Yeah.
But
I was like, I want to see. She's like, no.
speaking of old men, though, old Tom is undefeated as divorced.
That means he
Yes.
won one game.
Yes, I don't know
This
if
is
we
his
talked.
first
Yes.
win, but barely. Like in 9 seconds.
Barely.
And
And who were they playing? Who were they playing?
The Rams, but we
Yes.
were just. Well, let me
Oh,
not say
dude, did
we
you
because
see
they're
that
not-
G? Did you see that G jump over and block that punt?
Yeah, the guy
like,
literally jumped over, went
like-
up. It was
And
crazy.
I'm like, it was crazy. And I am like, why has no one done that before? Like, why has
I
no one?
know.
Like,
Like, he
it was
supposed
such a
to think
smooth
that?
move. But I was like,
No
oh,
false start,
everyone-
nothing. No
nothing.
off the
I was like, that's genius. Like, he's like, I'm like, other people
Oh
are gonna try
no,
that
he's
now.
been practicing that.
Right?
Like,
That's what
I'm
I was
gonna try
like.
this. When am I gonna use this?
Gee, like, I feel like it was like his Philly special, like that, like.
Because
it's
no
not the
one
time.
had moved
Coach,
yet.
can I do it now? Coach, can I do it today? Okay. Like, that's how
My
I feel.
special move. But yeah, he got it like 9 seconds. He made it down. So now everyone's like, oh, the old great Tom, because in 9 seconds he still
He
has
did
it.
have like his record. He beat Tom. I mean, he beat Peyton with that drive. I think he like surpassed like 55 game winning drives. So that's cool if you want to talk about it. But I'm also just like,
Like,
of
whatever,
course he's
Tom.
gonna hit all these records because he's 45 years old. He's still playing football. But
Like,
I
no
just
one's
think-
caught up yet.
but yes, like I'm like, because they're all young now.
Yeah,
They're all like,
they're not there yet.
yes, they all were like being born when you were doing this. But I think it's just so funny that the media is just like, ooh, is Tom back? And it's like one game.
Right.
And well, I'm not going to say that he's not back because I've also said on this podcast, and I'm like, this is literally building him up to have the best comeback ever, which is so on brand for him. But I'm also like, that I don't
Yeah.
think that he has the NFC that he is used to having, and I don't
Like,
think
let me see another.
And I'm like,
game.
you barely won the game. Like you barely
Like
won.
in his post game
And he was
conference.
so happy.
Yeah, it just looks so much, of course, because he won. Finally, he's been depressed.
You
Not
know, if he
only,
would have lost, that would have been really bad.
yeah, Rex Ryan on Get Up was like, he does look so much younger. He looks like the old, yeah, because he won. Like he would have been looking like depressed
Look.
Brady again if he
You've
had
been looking
lost.
like Nick Saban. Look,
Yeah.
at that field.
Oh my God, I feel for those boys after
I know.
yesterday
Imagine that.
and practice this week.
That practice
Woo.
today, probably. Woo.
It was like, cancel your classes. You're coming to this field. We're doing
Pretty
homework
much.
on the field.
Zoom,
Everything.
virtually. Let's do it. Yeah. Have your phone recording.
But,
Yeah.
but
Is there
yes,
anything else going on? I know that like the Saints play.
the Saints are playing right now. We're still recording, so we're recording Monday night. 7 o'clock. Saints are Monday Night Football with the Ravens.
Are we still dealing with we don't know who our quarterback is fully yet? Sorry guys, I've been MLB whole.
We took up no, I think Andy's still our
Okay.
quarterback, but I think they just signed some guys. I saw.
Oh yeah, I got
something
that alert
through.
today. Yeah.
Yeah, so they're bringing some guys off because we're missing Lattimore, I think.
Oh yeah,
Michael
and then Thomas is out. Yeah, that
his
sucks.
foot again. So yeah, we may just be looking for highlights for this game because we don't want to get upset. Like, luckily they didn't come on Sunday and
You just gotta
lose
get your
after.
superstition. You gotta get your
Yeah.
like your book on.
Well, I
You gotta
do
go
that. I
read.
walk away if they're down, like, okay, we're gonna go somewhere else. I turn to Hallmark when it's on a Sunday. I'm like, I'm gonna watch this Hallmark movie and come back and see what you do. Let's get some love.
Never forget.
So yeah. But nope, that's what we have. We're just waiting for the next week of sports, see what we get.
I'm back, guys. I promise I'll have more things to talk about than MLB because now I'm all focused on NFL, NBA.
Yes, we're getting in the mix for all of that. So thank you guys for joining us. Thank you for sharing your experience about the MLB, and
thanks for listening to me. I know that was a very long time.
No, I'm glad you got to go and just to hear those stories about the
everyone
players.
should
I love
go. My
the
mom was
stories.
literally like, we need to do this every year. And I was like, okay, mom.
No,
like
that's so sweet to do with your mom.
I know. I was
Everyone
like,
take
we'll
your
just
mom.
like put the cash jar. We'll just start.
Yeah.
And if they don't go,
Start saving now, spring
I
training.
know. I was like, well, it was like really nice because it was like I am in a position where I was able to treat my mom to that, and I was very honored to be able to do that. But I was like, how she's like, we can do this every year. I'm like, okay, well, I'm not gonna have the goals that I had last year, so we're gonna slowly. And if they don't go, we just go to like Europe or something. That's what we'll do. Yeah, but thank you so much. You've been so nice to have someone to talk about it with, because I'm sure my sister and I have like been the only ones that we have to talk about it.
No,
so.
yeah, shout out to your sister for keeping you informed when you've had to be away.
Yes.
So I love that. But yes, we'll be back hopefully next week to talk more sports and what's going on. And
who knows? I mean, look what happened in the 2 weeks. I'm sure we're in for a treat with what's to come. So
yes.
Until next time.
Stay tuned, watch those sports, and we'll see you guys next week. Thanks. Cheers.